and welcome to Hot Cup of Jazz. My name's Josh, and this is my jazz podcast, where I drink tea and talk jazz. This week, seeing as we're in the lead up to Christmas, my wife and I have just baked some gingerbread. I'm actually standing in the kitchen currently, smelling the delicious smells of ginger and bread. It's raining outside. I have my Christmas playlist on, and I just wanted to talk about my favorite or commonly listened to Christmas albums that I generally pull out around December 1st and listen to all through until December 25. If there's any albums that you think I've missed or that I haven't heard before, please recommend them to me. I'm always open to listening to new music. First of all, I wanted to start off with some absolute classics. You cannot go past Frank Sinatra. The album that I usually choose is his Ultimate Christmas. It might be a bit of a compilation as opposed to just a standalone album. I'm not actually too sure. But it's got all the greats on it, like Jingle Bells, First Noel, Came Upon Midnight, Christmas Waltz, White Christmas, all the classics in it. I just love Frank Sinatra's voice, and it really lends itself to those type of Christmas carol-y tunes. A similar one there also is Bing Crosby's White Christmas, I think is it called? What's the album called? It's just called Christmas, Bing Crosby Christmas. He was kind of Frank Sinatra's role model, I guess. He was the big singer at the time when Frank Sinatra was coming up. So they've got very similar voices and very similar vibes. So both those albums kind of sit in that croony kind of wheelhouse. So you can have either or of those albums. You don't need both, I would say. Another one that I really love that's classic is Ella and Louis Christmas. So that's Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong getting together. They got together quite a bit musically across their careers. Ella's voice and Louis' voice and his trumpet playing really kind of complemented each other, and it's no different on this album. I love it, and definitely give it a listen around December. I also really love Dave Brubeck's Christmas album as well, which is called, I think it's just a Dave Brubeck Christmas, and it's got a lovely cover art. It's kind of like this lonely Christmas tree with a star on top amongst like a forest at night while it's snowing. And that's definitely the vibe that you get from that album. It's just Dave Brubeck supported with a couple of other instruments. It's all instrumental, and it covers some of the great songs as well, like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Joy to the World, Winter Wonderland, O Tannenbaum, Silent Night, all these classics that Brubeck kind of brings a jazz piano arrangement to. And it's something a bit different to listen to at Christmas time, because a lot of the times when you're walking around the stores, you get your Mariah Careys, you get your Michael Bublé's, you get all that kind of vocal stuff, but I really like listening to some of the instrumental albums. And in that vein, also, I have to recommend the Count Basie Orchestra's album. This is a big one, and I know that it's on like a lot of top 10 jazz Christmas album lists, and it's called A Very Swingin' Basie Christmas, and it is swingin'. It's what it says it is. It's a great album. Also got all the classics on it. Really interesting arrangements and versions, and again, something different like the Brubeck Christmas, something different to throw on if you're sick of hearing people sing all the carols that you always hear every year. I also really like Oscar Peterson's album as well. It's kind of similar to Brubeck, but with Peterson's kind of not janky but heavy chordal type jazz playing, and that's just an Oscar Peterson Christmas. These Christmas albums really don't have that that original of titles. I also really love. Sorry, I'm just going on an absolute tangent. I'm pretty much just describing my playlist, which I will tell you. I'll put a link on how to get to, so that you can listen to it over the next week and on Christmas Day if you'd like. And that's Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song album. Nat King Cole is just an amazing vocalist. He approaches his music really beautifully, and he has some really lovely classical renditions of these lovely Christmas tunes. And then I'll leave you with a couple of modern albums, which I love so much. And that the most recent, around 2016, I think it was, Kurt Elling released a Christmas album called The Beautiful Day. Kurt Elling sings Christmas, and it's got some really interesting interpretations of Christmas songs. We Three Kings is one of my favorites on that album. It's got this awesome guitar solo. All the songs are really different to what you would normally expect of them. So definitely worth a listen if you want to be mixing it up quite a bit from your normal caroling type music. And then lastly, a band that is a two-piece, and one of the pieces in that two-piece is the actor Zooey Deschanel. She has a band called She and Him, and they kind of are a jazzy American standard country type band, and they have 2 jazz albums. The one I've got in my playlist is The Christmas Party, and I absolutely love the way that they go about these Christmas carols. They've got this hauntingly beautiful way of delivering the music, and they've got some really different songs on there too. There's one that's kind of like a Hawaiian Christmas song called Mele Kalikimaka, which I really love. And just, a Marshmallow World's another one. There's just some really interesting tunes on there. It's definitely got the Christmas vibe, but just, again, something a bit different. I always love listening to things that are a bit different around Christmas time, because if you listen to the same stuff that you hear in the stores, it will drive you insane. I know it's a thing that people go crazy at Christmas time. They hate Christmas music, but I think it's just because they hear the same stuff the same time every year. So those are my Christmas album recommendations. I'll put a link somewhere so that you can go to a playlist that I have that just has pretty much every album I've mentioned in there, so you can just hit play and listen to it all. Maybe do it while you're making gingerbread like my wife and I just did, or, wherever, whenever. Give it all a listen. Anyway, until the new year, have a Merry Christmas and keep it in the pocket.